Now, the third of the three things that create most chronic disease, 170 degenerative diseases. Again, the first one is oxidative stress, free radical damage. The second is an overacidity in the body, a chronic acid condition, which starves the body of oxygen. And the third is chronic dehydration. The majority of the population is chronically dehydrated. Now, some of the beverages that we consume, first of all, we don't consume enough liquids. For most people, you evaporate, depending on what climate you live in, but we evaporate, we exhale. If you took a mirror, you would see condensation there. That means every breath, you're exhaling moisture. Okay? We perspire on a regular basis, even though that you're not the type of person, I don't perspire, but it's a mechanism that our body uses to control our temperature. So we're always evaporating water off to maintain a constant body temperature. And another way is we urinate and we defecate a lot of the water from our body on a daily basis. Now, the average person will lose 2 to 4 liters a day. Now think about that. If you're consuming 2 to 4 liters a day to replenish that. If you're not, typically you're taking on a lot in a shower, between 4 to 8 cups in a shower, unless it's properly filtered. You're also taking in the chlorine and the fluoride and all the nasty things that are in typical municipal tap water. So hydration. Now, we're going to talk about how this addresses the third of the chronic degenerative disease causing problems. This device, when it goes through the process of electrolysis, it structures the water in a hexagonal rather than a pentagonal shape, more easily accepted by our cells. And the other thing is the size of the clustering of molecules. For example, a regular water that tap, bottled, so on, both the same by the way, in most cases, regular water cluster, it's in 15 to 30 molecule clusters. So, if you visualize that as a softball and you throw it at a chain link fence, it doesn't go through. Now, if you take and rip it apart through the electrolysis process, it starts to microcluster at 5, 8 microns, molecules per cluster. And that's like taking BBs and throwing them at a chain link fence. They go through. So the hydration factor is 4-6 times what regular water would be. Now, that makes regular water at hydration of about 15 to 18%. The rest we just urinate out. Or we also have to digest it. We have to digest those clusters. And you'll notice that if you take a bottle of water and chug it back, a store-bought bottle of water, chug it back, you'll feel heavy. You'll feel as though that stays in there for quite some time before the body is able to break it down. And that's what it has to do. Where this water does not do that, especially taken on an empty stomach. You drink this water, it gets absorbed in the mouth, in the esophagus, in the stomach lining, and we have what's called a pyloric sphincter valve at the end of our stomach. And the water is just so perfect for our body that our body recognizes that. You can't make the swishing sound because you've almost absorbed all of it in just a couple of minutes. But the pyloric sphincter valve opens up and hydrates the duodenum and the small intestine immediately. So one of the first things that people notice when they're on the water is fantastic bowel movements. And that is so critical to maintaining good health, is detoxifying. It's moving the toxins out of your body. So I'm going to demonstrate the microclustering effect of the water. And, we're going to take an example here of some tomatoes that you bring home from the grocery store. And I'm going to do a couple of different demonstrations with these. And typically you'll bring them home and you'll wash them in your tap water, correct? Absolutely. So what we're going to do is show the difference of bringing them home and washing them in Kangen water. Okay. So I'll first, if we can get some 11.5 out of this machine, 11.5 pH is...
Strong acidic water.
Nope. Oh yes, perfect. Oh, here we go. And I'm also going to fill this with tap water, because you'd come home and you'd fill your wash basin or whatever with the... there we go. And we're going to let that just sit for a moment. And what it's doing is, because herbicides, pesticides, insecticides, suicide, it's all the coatings that are placed on your fruits and vegetables. I've seen even organic have a disgusting coating come off them. But because they have to be oil-based, otherwise the rain would wash them off and it'd be very expensive to reapply them, they can't just be washed off simply by water, because as you know, if you mix tap water and oil, it doesn't mix. It's hard to wash oil off with just tap water. So we're going to leave that for just a second, and I'm going to show you exactly what comes off. Ideally, we would soak them for 15-20 minutes, but we're going to do it just after maybe 1 minute, and show you exactly what comes off these fruits. And I'll also show you a demonstration. Our earlier video showed an ORP meter, the oxidation reduction potential, and it shows the charge. Can that be seen up there? No. It shows the charge of what makes something an antioxidant or an oxidative free radical. So when it's fresh off the vine, typically a fruit like this would be an antioxidant. It'd be powerful. Because it has the negative electrons that are drawn up from the earth. We barely ever have our shoes off and walk on the earth. And the reason you go on vacation, you come back, you feel so amazing, is because you've had the chance to just soak up those negative electrons in your body, and it offsets a lot of free radical damage. Makes you feel really good. But when you pull this straight off the vine, and if you measured it, it would be a negative charge, meaning it has a lot of negative electrons to donate to our body to fight those free radicals. But as it gets picked, thrown in the bushels, taken to the warehouse, taken to sorters, placed in packages, thrown in the truck, shipped to the grocery store, stacked up there for a few days, then you select them, you bring them home, maybe they sit on your counter or in your fridge for a couple of days, you open them up, you use them, they've already oxidized, and I'll show you a demonstration of that. So first, we'll take the ones that you washed in tap water. Not really much comes off of those. And as you see, this is what you're consuming. Now, you wouldn't dare drink this, would you? But you go home, but you're eating it on here. So this allows you to strip the pesticides off and the herbicides and insecticides. I'm going to show you something really, really cool. We're going to pick one of these and we're going to cut this open. And we're going to take the meter and we're going to plunge it into there. And we're going to see what kind of value it gives us. These are relatively fresh. They're at about 140 right now. That's not bad. 133 positive. Positive 128, 125. It'll stabilize at about 120 probably. Now, I'm going to show you what having one that's been soaked in 11.5, but it's only been a minute. And ideally you want to soak it for a lot longer. But here we go. We're climbing already. We're we're in the minus. Okay, so what you've done is you've turned these tomatoes back into something that was picked right off the vine with a good negative charge. Look at that. It's climbing up. We're like at minus 200 already, and if I leave it there, it's going to go much higher. So one, you brought your tomatoes home, and they're no longer an antioxidant. They're not really beneficial other than the nutrient value. You left the pesticides and herbicides on them, or you take this, you wash them with this, you've stripped off all the herbicides, pesticides, and insecticides, which are toxic, and you've charged it up to a minus 300. That is a super antioxidant. That's just fantastic. Cheers.